I am proud to introduce, because Barrie and I go back to way long ago, 2003, when he sat next to me in prac class and I was immediately terrified. I'm pleased to say today that I'm no longer terrified of Barrie, and because he's just a great big teddy bear. And the words to describe Barrie are willing, persistent, giving, loyal, and he's a role model for the young ones that it's never too late.
Oh my God, she called me old.
We just call you Big Love.
Yeah, the only reason I'm wearing these glasses got nothing to do with age. So we're not going to talk about it. In order to stay in denial, you can't talk about it. My name is Big Love. If I throw that in. My mother was the oldest of 4 girls. My grandfather was in the Navy. He fought in World War II. He had 3 brothers, and all of them fought in the war. My mother, I remember one day I was sitting there, it was in Prac 1 about 10 years ago. We were told to do an assignment at Christmas time and sit down with your parents and ask them what it was like for them when they were kids. So I sat my mother down. My mother's very quick, shut down. She doesn't show a lot of emotion. And I asked her, what was it like for you as a little girl? And she looked at me and says that she went to 12 different schools. She lived from Halifax to Victoria, and everywhere she went, she had to make new friends. And I'm like, wow. She told me stories about how, for her to go to dance class, she'd have to take a bus by herself. And then I asked her, I said, well, when you're a little girl, it was Christmas Eve. Kids running around playing. I said, well, is there anything special that you wanted for Christmas? And for the first time I saw my mother started to cry without being drunk. And she said, all she ever wanted from Santa Claus is for him to bring my daddy home from the war. And it blew me away. When she was in grade 12, she met a man named Barrie in Burnaby South High School. Now, he was the tough guy, and he was the oldest of 4 boys. We all remember his P1 for sibling positioning. These 2 people probably should never have said hello. This year they will be celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary. They're best friends, like they were truly a team. By the time they were 25 years, they met and they instantly liked each other. 2 years later they married. By the time they're 25 years old, they had a mortgage, 4 kids. So it was pretty heavy duty stuff. I think of that now, and of course when you're a kid you don't see that. At the same time, there was always this constant battle. I did a speech on their 50th wedding anniversary. I told them that they've only had 1 fight, and we just don't know when it's going to end. And it's just living in this constant home of constant arguing. It still goes on to this day. This is the way they communicate. You know, friends of my father used to think my mother's name was Damn It Shirley. And that's what they would tell me. And so it's, with all this love and all this stuff going on, with the battle going on, there was this other type of the world. You know, when I grew up, it was sports. Played any sports I wanted. I remember when I was a kid playing soccer and pouring rain and looking over the sidelines, and my mother would be the only adult there watching underneath her umbrella, watching me play soccer. You know, we belonged to a winter club. My father was on the committee for the hockey committee. Every weekend we did something. In the wintertime it was ski trips. In the summertime it was out boating. I would spend 2-3 weeks every year in the Swiss water skiing, just enjoying each other and having fun. The 4 of us kids, Mom and Dad, and all the other family members and aunts and cousins and uncles. And at the same time, I had this You know, on the surface everything looked great, but I had this feeling that something was wrong with me. I felt that I was flawed. I had this growing suspicion or this belief that everybody else was better than me. And I had some evidence. I failed grade 4, which was hard on me, but I remember this is where you're going to fail, and I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. I pretended it didn't bother me. I had a condition when I was a kid that I was a bedwetter, and I hated myself for that. That was the one secret I had that I wasn't going to tell anybody. It was like, I was so less than everybody else. I was bullied a lot in school. Even kids younger than me, I was really small, even kids younger than me would bully me and beat me up every day. And I hated myself for that. And I was afraid of fighting back, because if I fought back and I lost, my dad was the tough guy, and I didn't want him to think that his son wasn't tough. So I wouldn't fight. And I equated that as I was a coward. So I looked at myself as being a coward. But I never told anybody. I kept all this stuff to myself, and I hid it all. And you know, with the constant fighting going on around the house, is one of the things I found out is they'd be fighting all the time, and the house would be rather calm until Dad came home. And I would hear Dad's car drive up, and my brother and sisters would go greet Dad at the door. I'd be scared hiding. So I had this thing, I was like, this man that I looked up as Superman, I was afraid of him. And it hurt me. It's the part of not following. I became the scapegoat of the family. So I remember sitting there, even to this day, Mom and Dad were sitting there, and they'll sit on the couch, and all of a sudden they'll just go into a spontaneous cuddle, just hugging each other. And I would instantly feel safe. Or they just simply just hold hands, and I would instantly get this feeling of feeling safe. And I also learned that anytime I screwed up, they were a team, and they wouldn't be fighting. It'd be them against me, but that was okay because they weren't fighting. So, I mean, yeah, there was consequences to it. I screwed up a lot when I was a kid, and I was constantly doing things but I felt safe. I might have been a shit all the time, but I felt safe when they weren't fighting. Then one day, my whole life changed. I was 13 years old. I had drank before, some family parties I would drink before. But one day something happened and my life was never the same. Is I discovered marijuana. And it became my life. It became everything. I used drugs and drank for 30 years. It became my lover. It took away my family. It took away my wife. I had to defend her at all costs. My wife didn't want me drinking. She didn't want me smoking dope, so one of the two had to go, and there was no question. It took away my dignity, my sanity for sure, and I ended up being all alone with her. She pushed everything away, and it was just me and her. And I hated myself. I didn't know how to live, and I didn't know how to die. I ended up in a treatment center. I'm totally off script. I ended up in a treatment center I was in recovery house in Richmond. And we talk about different times in my life that things changed. I was sleeping. And I had just taken 30 days sobriety for the first time in 30 years. And something made me get up and go to the washroom, go to the bathroom. And on the way to the bathroom, there was two guys in this lounge smoking drugs. Half hour later, I was in Maine and Hastings. 18 days later, I hadn't been asleep yet. I hadn't eaten. I was in the back alleys of the worst part of the world. And one of the things I noticed when I first started hanging out there is when you meet somebody, first thing you say is, I used to be. I noticed that. People they would sit there and talk like, I used to be. And 18 days later, I was talking to people that was saying, I used to be. People were running away from me. The police were looking for me. People wanted to kill me. And I don't understand life. But all I know is I would never have thought that moment that was going to be the greatest day of my life. Because that was the day I asked somebody to help me. And I never asked anybody to help me for anything. Because I stuffed everything and nobody knew what was going on inside me ever. I ended up at a treatment center in Maple Ridge and I met a man named Mickey. Which was, it was just one of those things where I felt like I was guided to them. Because we were asked to in a small group, we were asked to do, tell a secret to somebody. And I told the secret to Mickey. And he turned around and walked away on me. And I was devastated. And I'm like, okay. The next day I went up to him and I says, why'd you walk on me? And he turned around and he started crying and he just said, me too. And it was at that moment I realized I wasn't alone. That all the stuff that I carry on beside me, a lot of other people do too. And we you know, it's like, I gotta really talk fast. What seems to be pain and devastation could actually end up being total gifts. And sometimes we can get a gift and it actually gives us pain. And my life started changing at that time because of those things. I ended up in here. I ended up meeting Dwayne and Catherine. And we talk about apologizing. I've done that, apologizing to my family. I've been in AA. The best way I can apologize to people is not use drugs or drink. But I wanted to thank and say I'm sorry to Dwayne and Catherine because I've been a chore. And it's good. It's good. It's like they haven't turned their back on me. And Roy, same thing. Same thing. What do I stand for? I had a friend of mine one day ask me, he said, Barrie, what do you want in life? I said, well, what do you mean? He said, do you want a successful life or do you want a significant life? Because you may not get both. Well, wow. He's a keynote speaker. He speaks around the world. I thought, well, I'm going to listen to this guy. And how can I have a significant life? How can I make a difference in this world? And that's what brought me back to Claremont. I'm going to read this part. Because I am here for a reason. I'm on this earth for a reason.
Hallelujah.
And I'm in this room for a reason. I'm not sure why that reason is. It's my job to surrender to it. Because it is God's will. I'm committed to a simple life, to just do the next right thing and do the best I can, report my thoughts and feelings. I am committed to not just accept mine and others' imperfections, but to learn how to embrace them. I'm committed to making my part of the universe to be safe for others as well as myself. I will love others and I will love myself. I will make a difference in the universe for generations to come, because the work what we do here today is not just affecting us. There's people that aren't even born yet, their lives are just going to be different because of the work we do on ourselves. I thought I'd quote you on that one, Dwayne. I have a huge heart, and I'd like to thank my mother and father for that. I have learned many survival skills. I'd like to thank my bullies for that. The biggest thank you I can make is to my addiction, because if it wasn't for my addiction, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm not going to label myself as being an addict, because that's just part of what I am. I'm much, much more. And I use my intuition, my leadership, my compassion, my commitment, my perseverance, all these skills I like to thank my mother and father for. I don't need my defenses anymore, because I've learned that there's really nothing to defend. My name is Barrie Ruff, and I live a significant life.
Beautiful, Barrie. Thank you.